We recently made a rather significant HR decision here at Nomad Capitalist that I want to share with you. We made the decision to say, in any case where we can not have a freelancer, we're going to not have a freelancer. We're going to try and get rid of as many freelancers as possible. And I want to share with you in this video why I think that if you are the 7 or 8 figure entrepreneur, this is a decision that you should consider as well. Hey, I'm Andrew Henderson. Now, before we get into the video, let me share my approach to business in general that I think is important. Because I know there are some people out there who are freelancers, who are consultants. I'm not saying that being a freelancer, being a consultant, I'm not saying that's bad. Being a solopreneur, nothing wrong with that. But what I think is very important in business is finding alignment. I think what I suffered from earlier in my business days, and what I see some people now still dealing with, is this idea that anytime there's not a fit, it's a rejection, okay? I'm not necessarily opposed to freelancers. I think if you want to be a freelancer, you want to do your own thing, that's something that you should do. For me as a business owner with a company that's grown from 4 people to now about 20 people, will continue to grow, I've made the decision that freelancers just aren't a fit for this organization in a way that they would have been a better fit 2, 3, 5 years ago. What I've discovered really with freelancers and why they're not a fit for me is I'm very demanding. And people who work with us are pretty demanding of us in many cases, but I think that's a good fit. I always want people to deliver their best work. And what we found, we're dealing with it right now, is we're trying to remove freelancing in the web development space. You bring someone on board, sometimes they're just bad to start with, and it's hard to kind of screen that out because they're freelancers and sometimes they don't really want to show their skills. It's just, hey, I've got a profile, I'm the web developer, hire me or don't. And I'm cool with that. I like the takeaway close, I like that. But you bring someone on, sometimes they're just bad, you gotta get them out easy enough. Sometimes someone comes on board, we had this once, you never hear from them again. You start the job or you hire them, you sign a contract. I've actually moved to putting every freelancer on a signed contract just to make things more formal. I think it raises expectations, raises the level of professionalism, keeps both sides protected above just kind of an Upwork hiring deal. But sometimes you just bring someone on and they just vanish, right? I don't think I've ever hired someone in-house and who just hasn't showed up on the first day of work. Obviously it happens. It's never happened to me, and I think it's certainly statistically much less likely to happen when you're just bringing someone in for a job. Sometimes you'll bring someone on for a freelance job, and they'll be great for a while, and then you'll kind of relax a little bit, and it'll be like, oh, now they're slow. And that's the issue that we've dealt with recently. Someone was great, they're getting a lot done, then it comes into the excuses. It comes into, oh, my child was sick, or oh, I had a family issue. Am I opposed to those things? No. My kind of ruthless business style that I've come to adopt and I've come to not be ashamed of is, you know what? I don't tell you my business problems, right? If you're an employee, it's not my job. It's not your job to deal with my business problems. It's your job to come in, follow the rules, do what we ask you to do. And you get a guaranteed paycheck, right? Unless you have an equity partnership or something like that, we're not business partners, and it means that you don't have certain information. It also means you don't have to deal with all the problems. You're not taking the risk, right? That's my obligation as the business owner. If I fail, it shouldn't be your responsibility. And so, in return, I don't really want to hear that your car broke down. It's your responsibility to get a car that works. And if you're a freelancer, it's your responsibility to deliver the freelance work on time in a way that works around the latest, problem of the day. We all have problems. Some of us deliver, others don't. And so what we found statistically, when we went back and did a big deep dive study of everyone who was in-house and everyone who was freelance, we found that there was almost a 3x number of incidents among freelancers who, put their problems on us basically and delayed things. Now, my perspective on most of this stuff is people are very rarely busy, right? I had an urgent situation, I couldn't come in. That means I didn't want to, right? I was busy. No, you were busy watching Dancing with the Stars. Nobody's really busy, right? Some of us manage to get things done, others don't. And so we had a 3x level of incidence with folks who are freelancers. And I think part of the thing is, when we hire people in-house in our team, I set very clear expectations. And we're always trying to make things more clear, because when we first started, it wasn't that clear, and I had to learn by making mistakes, by people being confused, by people quitting because they were not sure, they didn't like it, they wanted a more structured environment. So we've had to learn to where now we've got lots of standard operating procedures. We've got audios explaining how we do things. We've got lots of tutorials that we've created for someone who comes on in-house. In the first couple of days, we say, sit down, set up your email, set up your Skype, and read all of this, and listen to all of this, and get our vibe, and just absorb it, okay? Most times you hire a freelancer, they're not going to do that, okay? What I found when we kind of put that vibe on people who are in-house is sometimes they just don't rise to the challenge. They may leave relatively quickly. They may hang around for 6 months, 12 months, whatever, and just, or they may even hang around until you try and force them to get to the next level. They resist the growth, and either they quit or you just have to get rid of them. Okay, that's one issue that we have, where I'm constantly trying to help people level up. I don't want someone to come in as an assistant and stay an assistant their entire life. I don't want that. I want people who are willing to grow. And so that's an easy enough thing to do when you're bringing people in-house. You can communicate that stuff, you can improve your processes. And again, someone may choose to quit, but it's easier in our experience just to hire people and have an HR hiring funnel than it is to go through all the different freelancer channels. Because what we found is when we turn up the pressure a little bit on someone, it's a web developer, it's whatever the freelance job is, copywriter, when we're like, hey, we got to get this done, we get a lot more pushback. And again, that's where that 3x incident level came in. We get a lot more pushback where people just leave. And I remember 3 or 4 years ago, we had a woman in the UK we hired to put together something for our Nomad Passport Index. We were sending it out to the press. It ended up in BBC, Bloomberg, all over the place, but not because of her. I said, hey, we need it by March 1st, and that's when it was going out. And like March 15th, she came back to me and said, hey, sorry, some things were going on, right? You always know how people are BSing you when it's like some things or an urgent situation. There's no specifics, right? Some things were going on. Hey, what do you need? And I said, well, went out. We'd like to add it. So just we hired you to be the expert. Just do it quickly. It wasn't like, hey, you're late. You're a jerk. It's just, come on. Great, let's go. Oh, excuse me. Oh, I don't really like the tone. It's like, listen, I don't need this. You're 2 weeks late. There's no apology. It's vague. It's really, like, we don't need it, right? If I have someone in-house, I get to lean on them. I get to say, here's what we need to do. And so what I've seen is, I'm probably one of the more demanding people. It seems like a lot of people out there who are hiring freelancers are totally cool with, hey, you're 2 weeks late and the project has already passed and we paid you, but now you're coming back and you want to argue with me about how you were 2 weeks late. So I just don't need that, right? And so what I think, the challenge for us has been is, and I get this from my mother, I think, like I like to take a stand on one side or the other. I don't like this kind of let me just take the best of all worlds kind of thing when it comes to like working with people, right? If we charge high prices on our business, I'm constantly trying to find new ways to make the service excellent, okay? Not to say we haven't made mistakes, but I'm constantly sitting around saying, how can we make this experience better? Because we're taking someone's money, we're charging them good money. It should be great. It should be excellent, right? I'm not going to sit there and make excuses, okay? What I don't want is, I'm going to charge a high price, and I'm going to charge you more than an employee would, and I'm going to do it in my own time, and half the time I'm not even that much of an expert. Everyone, I just call myself a web developer and all that. It's just been a challenge. And so if you started a business the way that I did, for the first year, I was the web developer. And I really put a lot of effort into learning it. If I'm better than you, if I'm a better web developer than you, and you're the freelancer in web development, that's not going to work. But that has been like 50% of our experience, okay? And so are there ways to improve the process? Yes. We recently had a web developer who put together a very professional proposal. Here's what this page is going to look like. Here's exactly what we're going to do. Wow, okay, great. This is a great way to work with a freelancer. I said, wow, this is great. She got that page done. Next one. Oh, now it's kind of slow again. Now it's back to, excuse making and delays, and then finally just kind of slipping out the back door. What I like in terms of working with people is I want to be the center of attention, right? I want to pay someone. I'm going to bring someone in at somewhat entry level in many cases. I'm going to figure out what their strengths are and then put them in that department. So we had one person who came in as an operations assistant. I thought, wow, this person really understands psychology and sales. I said, I'm going to put that person in sales. I'm going to make that person in charge of, bringing in revenue, right? And so that, for me and for Nomad Capitalist, has worked a lot better, where we take people who don't have bad training from lots of other jobs, people who want to start fresh, people who want to learn something, and we figure out, what part of the company should they be in very quickly. And in my experience, having people who are totally dedicated to the company, who are sitting in the soup, as it were, they're every day involved in it. They're seeing clients coming in. They're seeing, the website. They're living in it, right? They're hearing me. We're having team meetings. We're learning by osmosis, right? Everyone's learning by osmosis because they're just sitting in it. Is much better than someone who's over here, who does not have the connection to your company, who doesn't necessarily want to have the connection to the company, who, is used to, if it's 80% done, okay, no one's going to complain. And if they do, and this is a big thing that I've learned and I've had to resist as the business owner, I finally, cracked the code of, what people are going to do to you? If you demand better than what people are willing to give you, they're going to put it back on you. Very few people will ever apologize. They're going to try and shame you for why you're too demanding. You're too unreasonable. You're too difficult. And it's not because you're too difficult or too demanding. I've learned this, right? Because quite frankly, I've looked at myself and my history of, again, working with these freelancers. I probably wasn't demanding enough, quite frankly. I probably should have put my foot down more, probably should have given fewer second or third chances, but yet I'm demanding, I'm difficult, I'm unreasonable. Do you know where I don't hear that from? People who work in-house. Now, sometimes someone leaves and they want to write their letter and tell you, you're terrible. Most of the time people leave and it's just like, hey, thanks for the experience, I'm moving on to the next thing. But sometimes people, when they're going out the door, they jab you in the stomach. But for the most part, having people who are sitting in the soup, who are dedicated, who buy into the mission, who are part of the team, is better. And one of the things that I'm doing right now to improve the experience for people on the team is to say, all right, we need a freelancer for this, 5 hours a week. You know what? I think this is in your skill set. I'm going to give it to you and we're going to give you a raise. So rather than paying the freelancer, we just add it into someone else's work. They get a bump in pay. We save a little bit of money. They learn a new skill. And quite frankly, I found that doing things in-house has been much more efficient because we can control the process. We're not waiting for someone to respond to an email in their own time. That's been one thing that's been really hard for us. People say I respond in 24 hours, but what do you do when they reply in 48 hours? You got to go find a new freelancer. They're not worried because they have 17 other clients and it's not really going to impact their income. When you hire someone in-house, if they decide not to work for you, yes, they can get another job, but they might have to consider the fact that they're going to be living in a dumpster for a while if they leave your company. And so if you screen the right people and figure out who are the right people coming in, I think you'll have a lot more effectiveness on your own team at a lower price point, giving people more opportunities to grow than you would outsourcing a lot of that work. Hi, I'm Andrew Henderson from Nomad Capitalist. I wrote this book, which you can find on Amazon, to distill a lot of the stuff we talk about in these videos and a lot of the stuff I've learned over the last decade plus traveling all around the world, teaching you about how to legally reduce your taxes, build your personal freedom, and create wealth faster. Definitely get a copy of this book if you want to learn more. Now, if you want to watch more videos, make sure you subscribe to our channel and make sure you click the notifications bell so you never miss one of our new videos with more tips on how to go where you're treated best. And if you're already a 6- or 7-figure entrepreneur and you'd like to put these strategies in place for yourself, go to nomadcapitalist.com and learn about how I can help you.